Hey there, and thanks so much for being here. Hi, I'm Teresa from 360 Handmade Bags, and welcome to my sewing studio and my YouTube channel. If you're new here, thank you for hopping in and checking out what I do. And if you're already a subscriber, thanks so much for coming back and hanging out with me. And Murphy heard me say hi, and he has to say hi all the time, don't you? Yes, you're a good boy. All right, down you go. That's all he has to do. He just wants to say hi. So, infomercial before we start is please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Thumbs up helps a lot. Comments help a lot. And, you know, check out all of my tutorials. They're all in my 360 Handmade Bags playlist. There's also a link in the description box below to join my my Facebook group, 360 Handmade Bags, and feel free to share your bags that you've been making as well. I no longer have my YouTube or my website. So I decided to not resubscribe to that because it wasn't getting any action. So if you are interested in, in this cockeye bag hanging here, I do have a pattern that I have written, and this is called the CherAnn Bestie bag, and it's a really nice crossbody bag with a slip pocket on the back, a zipper pocket on the front. And both of those are on the inside, as well as 8 card slots are on the inside as well. And if you're interested in purchasing my pattern, it's $12 Canadian. There is a link in the description box below to contact me by email so that we can connect and I can email you my, my pattern. All right, today's pattern that we are doing is one that I have done many, many times. I do go into detail on how I do things because I always keep in the back of my mind that there may be brand new bag makers, and seeing each step detail by detail does help. I know it helped me a lot. So we are doing the Yoshi Sling bag by Kaur threads. Here it is. Isn't that gorgeous? I love this bag. I've made many of these bags before, and they've all sold. And so Sandeep wrote this pattern a few years ago, and it is a really, really great pattern. So all fabrics, exterior fabrics that I'm using are from Sam Fabric Creation in Quebec, and Frankie's come to join us as well. She always has to make sure that I'm sewing the right way, you know. And then all my interior lining is from Emmeline Bags, and it is the twill. I'll link everything below as well. So this bag has a lot of great features. So on the front, it has this fabulous zipper pocket. There's the twill inside. It's kind of a pinky mauve. And it has this great hidden pocket as well. And all my hardware is antique brass. So there's a great size hidden pocket as well. And then on the back, oops, get hold of my zipper. On the back, well, you have this grab handle. So I explain in the tutorial that I do make this handle a little longer than what's in the pattern, only because, especially if you're making this bag for a man, because this could be, if you make it manly looking, men might like it too, and this grab handle is really handy. And it has the connector with a D-ring. This, and on the back you have a welt pocket that you create, and that's large enough to put my Samsung S25 Ultra in it. And now, one thing I did do differently also is in the pattern, there's provision to put a D-ring connector here and a D-ring connector here. Because when you make your adjustable strap, it has a swivel clasp on each end. And the D-ring's large enough that you can make 2 adjustable straps that match, clip them both on, and have one on this end of the D-ring connector and this end. And that you can wear it as a backpack. And then if you just want to wear it as a sling bag, then you just take one of your straps off and put it somewhere. I've done my strap my adjustable strap different. I put a strap across the back and a floating D-ring to attach onto my swivel clasp, so it doesn't matter which way you wear your bag, the D-ring's going to slide to that side and adjust according to how you want to wear the bag. So I just made this bag as a sling bag. And so those are the great features on the exterior. And on the inside, on the back wall, I have a zipper pocket. And then on the front panel, I have this slip pocket. And it is a bound bag. And it's a really nice bag to make. So get your pattern, figure out what fabrics you're going to use and what color combinations. There are so many ideas that you can make. This would look amazing in denim as well. And get your pattern and join me in making the Yoshi Sling Bag by Kaur Threads. Alrighty, so the fabric that I'm using today, all the exterior fabric, the solid and the print is from Sam Fabric Creation. And the main color is this iridescent purpley, has a little bluey browny hue to it. And then the main contrast is this snake skin that has a lot of iridescence and antique brass in it. And then my lining is this twill from Emmeline Bags. And I honestly can't tell what is the right side and the wrong side. And all my hardware is antique brass. And the thread that I'm using is black, and it is from Emmeline Bags. It is the Tex 45 Fusion Nylon Bonded Thread. So everything, I'll have links to everything in the description box below. So what we're going to start on first is pattern piece D. It is the 2 exterior front zip tabs. Now in the pattern, depending on the fabric that you use, it has, you know, if you're using cotton or waterproof canvas, then you might want to have 4 pieces, 2 exterior and 2 lining, but I'm only doing 2 exterior because I feel that's enough. The fabric, the exterior that I'm using and the lining that I'm using, it's heavy enough that I'm not doing any interfacing at all. So you're going to take one of your short zippers, have your zipper pull already on it, and with right sides together of one of your zipper tabs, we're going to clip that on, one on either end. Oh, and the zipper tape that I'm using is number 5 zipper tape with black. I get it on Amazon, and the zipper pulls come with it as well. So we're going to stitch this across right sides together at the seam allowance in the pattern, and then we're going to flip each end and top stitch. Oops, going up backwards here. All right, so just like that. And then we're going to be taking our pattern piece C, the front zip pocket bottom. You just have 1 exterior. Double-sided tape across the top edge, top raw edge. There's a specific interfacing in the pattern, but like I said, I'm not using any interfacing because my faux leather vinyls are thick enough and the twill lining is thick enough. Make sure your centers are marked, top and bottom. And we have our zippers tabs on. To find the center of your zipper, line up these 2 top stitched edges. hopefully this gel marker I'll be able to see. And then I always do mine on the right side and the wrong side of the zipper. It's not going to work. Sometimes the gel pen works and sometimes it doesn't, so I'll use my marking pencil. Making sure I'm marking it on that fold on the underside. It's handy to make a crease in your zipper. All right, so with right sides together, now it depends on which way you want your zipper pull to pull. I'm going to have mine closing to the right. So I already have it right side up, zipper pulling to the right because I wear my bag on my right hip and I want my zippers right there close to where I am. So then just take it, flip it over so that you have right sides together, line up your centers and your top edge of your zipper and your zipper tabs. All right, and then double-sided tape across that top edge. Your zipper tabs will extend past your front panel there. That's okay, we're going to be trimming those off, and take that off. And then take your pattern piece K, your front zip pocket lining. You have one lining piece. And you have your centers marked top and bottom. And like I said, I can't tell what is the right side or the wrong side. So line up your centers of your lining, right sides together, whatever that is with this, with the right side of your bottom panel, and center that, line up your edges. And then we're going to stitch across here. We're going to stitch the zipper on. If your zipper pull is in the way, make sure that your needle is down, lift your presser foot, and then pull your zipper out of the way of your sewing. All right. And flip this up, and we're going to top stitch across this folded edge. Line up make sure that your edges are lined up. This is a little thicker, this twill, so finger press that down. All right, and then we will top stitch across this folded edge. All right. So this is what we have so far. Flip this over to the wrong side up and put double-sided tape across the top edge. On a stick. Take the bottom edge of your lining and fold that up, matching your centers, and fold that up and put that up along the your zipper, wrong side. And that will create your interior pocket. Then flip it over to the right side facing up. And then we put more double-sided tape across the top edge of the zipper. And that's when we use pattern piece B. All right, so right sides together, match your centers. Lost my center mark. Okay, let's hope that'll line up. I need to come over a little bit. All right, that looks a little better. All right, and then we will stitch across the top edge of that. And we will flip this up and top stitch across this folded edge now. All right, and then just trim these extra edges off of our zipper tabs. All right, and this is what we have so far. That looks pretty slick. There we go. That's part of our front panel and our first zipper pocket, and I'll be back. All right, so this is where we're at right now. What we need to do is to close up the sides, the raw edges of our front zipper pocket. So there's a measurement in the pattern, but we're going to sew up from the bottom to, an inch seam allowance on both sides. And I'm going to start from this side, flipping the front exterior backwards, and just sew up each side 1 inch seam allowance. Just pull that exterior back and then just sew right up to the fold. Don't sew into the fold and back stitch. And then repeat for the other side. Oops. All right, and then we're just going to cut across here and trim off our seam allowances about a 1/4 of an inch on both sides. 1/4 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch. Okay, just like that. Now, in the pattern, there's a measurement because it depends on the seam allowance you're using. It depends on the width of your zipper tape that you're using. That could alter the size. So there's a specific height measurement from top to bottom in the pattern of what this whole panel needs to measure from top to bottom. If yours is a little larger, trim it off. And then in the pattern, there's also a measurement. You can just see it here. To draw a line, you measure from the top to this point, and then draw a horizontal line across this panel. And then we are done with this piece for the moment. So then get your next small zipper and make sure your zipper pull is on. And I'm just going to burn the ends so they don't fray. Then you're going to be needing your pattern piece L, your hidden zipper tabs, and I have them with the twill. And we're going to make a taco for the zipper ends. We're just going to be creating zipper ends. So with the top and the bottom are slightly wider than the height. So I'm just going to fold them in half. Like I said before, with this twill, I can't tell what's the right side and what's the wrong side. And then I'm just going to fold. So I folded it into the center, and I'm just going to fold each edge into that center, nail press it, and create a little hot dog bun or a taco bun. Taco. Oops, this twill does fray a lot. All right, so this is what we have, and I'm just going to slide it over top of the end of my zipper, making sure it's straight. And I'm going to clip it into place and then repeat for the other side. Okay, just like that. And stick that on this side. They don't have to be very big. There will be a bit of overhang. And clip that on as well. And then we're going to stitch that across the folded edge at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Not pretty, but you're not going to see it, especially because I'm using black thread. Okay, So just like that. And then we're going to take, fold to find the center of your zipper. Fold it in half and line up your two zipper ends that you just made. I'm going to make a crease. This is how I find my center so I don't have to cut the zipper tape. And I just make a good crease in the zipper and then just use my marking pencil. And I mark my centers front and back, just in case I need to see them both front and back. Just like that. All right. Now, because I have my zipper closing to the right, I want this zipper to be closing to the right. So I have it closing to the right as well. I have my center marked at the top here. And I'm just going to run double-sided tape across the top edge there. I'll just clip it because we're just going to be basting this on at the moment. So line up your centers of your zipper and your top raw edge. Oops. And I'm just going to baste that across at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. I guess I should have done this ahead of time. I'm just going to trim those extra zipper ends. I don't need those. They're just in the way. Okay. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take one of our pattern piece M, the front hidden pocket lining, and you have 2 of them. Make sure your centers are marked and line up your centers, right sides together. And clip that up along the top of the raw edge. Okay, and then we're going to sew across here at the seam allowance in the pattern. All right, just like that. Then we're going to fold the lining back only, or fold the lining up towards the top, and we're going to top stitch across there with the lining only, and your seam allowance at the back will be pointing up towards the top. and this is where we're at right at the moment, and I'll be back. All right, so take your remaining lining piece, flip this over so that your zipper, the wrong side of your zipper is showing. Right sides together with right sides, and line up your center. I'm going to put double-sided tape across this edge. Of the zipper, the top edge. And right sides together, line up your centers with your zipper and with your lining piece. Center that on the top of your zipper. Okay, just like so. And then on this side, now one of the things that I would recommend you to do is, I have two different zipper pulls here. I have a large chunky one for the front because I want to be able to have something to grab hold of, because this is going to be a hidden zipper. You might consider having a smaller, this isn't super small zipper pull, but a small zipper pull in here so that it doesn't get caught in the fold. All right, now we are going to take our pattern piece A, the front top panel, and you have one exterior. I've already put my bag tag on that, and we're going to right sides together with right sides, line up your center on your zipper, and I'm just going to clip them. Clip right across that lining as well. Okay, and we're going to stitch across that at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. That's what I'm sewing at, is a 1/4 inch. Close to your zipper teeth as you can get. I don't have a zipper foot that I like using, so I've got my narrow walking foot, which basically gets close to the zipper for when I install zippers. Lift your presser foot up, needle down, lift your presser foot up to move your zipper pull out of the way. All right, so what we will be doing is flipping everything forward except for this lining piece that we just sewed on. So everything's going to be going forward, and then we're going to be top stitching across here, and that will catch the seam allowance at the on the underneath. Make sure your zipper pull is out of your way. Put both of them in the center. All right, so this is where we're at. Now the line that we marked with the removable marker, we're going to fold on that line and clip. Pull everything up out of the way, zipper pulls in the center. So I'm going to fold on that line, ensure that my side raw edges are even. And it's a little difficult to see this line. This fabric is so iridescent. And you're just folding that piece only. Nothing gets caught underneath. That's where you want to make sure everything lines up. Okay, and we're going to top stitch across this fold. All right, so now what we have to do is create our hidden pocket. This is really, really cool. So I just take the two folded seams, line them up, and ensure that those seams, top stitched lining seams, are lined up. My clips. Clip it to the side edge, ensuring that your sides are straight. Clip it all together, and then do the same for the other side. And that lines up your linings, and it creates this really cool hidden zipper pocket. There are marks in the pattern of where to line up, but I find it easier and less confusing for me just to line up the linings. Okay, so we have them lined up there. And before we go any further, I'm just going to sew up the bottom of my zipper pocket and seal that up first. Might be a little off in the measurement, but that's okay. Make sure the sides are even, so we're just going to sew that. Just trim that excess off. Okay, and then we're just going to baste these side seams all the way down, and that will seal up our side pockets. It's a little bulky here because of our zipper ends, and make sure the zipper's out of the way. Oops. Thready there in a way. And there is our front done. So there's our small zipper pocket in the front and our hidden zipper pocket. This looks really nice. This is why I suggested having a smaller zipper pull and not a big chunky one. You won't really see it anyways, but this sits in here quite nicely, and it's a fair size pocket as well. All right, so there's our front all done, and I'll be back. All right, we're going to start working on the back panel. So we will need our pattern piece O, which is the back pocket facing, because we're creating a welt pocket on the back, which is a really nice slip pocket and perfect for your phone. You're going to need your pattern piece F, the welt pocket strip, and you're going to need your pattern piece E, which is your exterior. You have 2 linings and 1 exterior, so we're going to be using 1 exterior. Now ensure that your centers are all marked top to bottom and on your sides. In the pattern, there is a measurement to mark down. I've got a removable marker here to measure from the bottom up, and ensure that's in the center. And we're going to take our back pocket facing piece, pattern piece O, and I'm using my lining, and I have my centers marked top and bottom, and in the pattern there's a measurement to create what looks like a zipper box. And we're going to put that right side up with right side up, and I'm going to use my painter's tape that I reuse a lot and line up that edge. I'm going to use this edge, it's a straighter edge. Line that up, and this lines up with these side marks. And I'm just going to tape the sides down so it doesn't slip, making sure that this is level. And then I'm going to stitch around this entire box. Okay, just like that. Can't see it on the back. All right, I'll get rid of my painter's tape. I don't need that anymore. And then I'm just going to take my scissors, fold this in half, and just snip in the center, make a little snip. And then I'm just going to cut along this line and cut the V's out up into those corners. Now, because this is thick twill that I'm using, and the backing is a thick vinyl, I'm going to be using double-sided tape to help fold it and stick to the other side. So I'm going to take my 1/4-inch double-sided tape and go all around the edges. This isn't very big. This will help fold it to the back and help to hold it onto the back without having to iron it. Okay, so just take your pieces. I'm just going to fold them forward and just give them a good crease, like so. And push it through to the back. It's a very tiny facing, so it's going to be hard to get it in there. Okay, there it is. Yay, we have it done. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, so there is the front and the back part. Now we're going to be taking our pocket piece F, the welt pocket strip, and it's 1 exterior. You can draw a line down the center and then put a piece of double-sided tape just below it, but I just put the double-sided tape below it because we're just going to be folding this in half to create the welt pocket. And that tape just helps stick it together. So I'm just going to line up my raw edges. Could have put double-sided tape along that edge as well, just to help it stick. Okay, so line up the raw edges, ensure that your side edges are in alignment with each other. This welt pocket is really nice. It's a nice pocket for your cell phone too. I love having a pocket at the back just to slip my cell phone in, and it's easy access for me. All right, so, all right, then take your folded piece and put double-sided tape down each short edge and the raw edge at the bottom. Okay, just like that. Turn your back panel to the wrong side up. Take the backing off your double-sided tape. Oops. And line the raw edges, the bottom raw edge, with the fold face going up towards the top of the bag, the back. Line this up along the bottom raw edge of your facing. It's got to come up a bit. This facing hole is a little large, I think. Okay, just like that. So it's going to look like this on this side. I'm going to remove that mark. I don't need any more. Okay, and then take one of your pattern piece ends, your back pocket lining piece. Okay, we're going to do it this way, so it'll flip. All right, so right side up, put a strip of double-sided tape across the top edge, or one edge. And with the raw edge, with the double-sided tape at the top, flip it over, right side down, and line that up with the bottom edge of your welt pocket folded piece that we just made. And your lining piece is heading up towards the top. So this is how it's going to look. And then flip it onto the right side. And on this side, we're going to just sew across the bottom, top stitch across the bottom, which will catch the lining and the welt pocket facing. And start 1/8 of an inch from this short edge along the bottom and end 1/8 of an inch one stitch out. Ensure that your lining is heading up towards the top of the bag. And I'm going to pull my threads to the back and tie them off at the back. And I do have a bit of that, excuse me, lining, sorry, excuse me, coffee throat. Morning coffee. I do have a bit of that lining peeking up through my box, which gives it a little bit of feature. Alrighty, and then we'll just cut our threads off. Flip to the back. It's falling. All right, and pull my threads to the back. Tie them off. Okay, so this is what it looks like on the wrong side, and this is what it looks like on the right side. So there's your little welt pocket cover, and that looks kind of nice with that lining poking through. All right, so fold the lining down, give it a good finger press, and then get your other lining piece. And on the right side of one of the edges, put double-sided tape along that edge. It's gonna get loud. All right, and with the double-sided tape across this top edge, line with right sides together, both lining pieces right sides together, line up this raw edge of the lining with the top edge of your facing piece, ensuring that your side edges are lined up. Oops, it's sticking. Okay. And now we are going to start, so this is where I ended. We're going to put the, with the both lining pieces going downward now. On the right side, I'm going to put my needle into where I ended, sew up the side, across the top, and down the side, and end in my needle right in this spot again, and then tie my threads to the back. Make sure I'm getting it in there. There we go. All right. All right, and pull your threads. Oops. And tie them off. Okay, so this is what we have so far. That looks really sharp. All right, so now we're going to finish the pocket by sewing up the sides. It is a little longer than is necessary, so I'm just going to trim that off, trim it down so it doesn't get in the seam allowance. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come in. I don't know if this is in the pattern, but I'm going to come in about 1/4 of an inch from this edge, just below the fold, and I'm going to sew in 1/4 of an inch and back stitch, and then sew again, and then sew down my side seams across the bottom, and then come back up this side with this folded down and sew this up and then come back out the side. It does make sense. My CherAnn Bestie bag, this is how I do the pocket as well when I close up the pocket. All right, that's the right direction. This isn't in the pattern to sew it up this way, but this is how I'm just going to do it. It makes it easier. All right, so this is what I have done. I've come in to here and sewn down and across and then up and ended that same way here. And we have our back welt pocket. Lots of room. I have a Samsung S25 Ultra. It does peak up a little bit, but that's okay. I can still grab it easily. It's not going to fall out. All right, and we'll be back. All right, so we're going to be working on our top strap tab, which is pattern piece G, and you have 2 exterior. Ensure that your centers are marked on the top and the bottom of each piece. And you're going to require your pattern piece J, one of your D-ring connectors. Now, depending on what you decide to do, if you decide to do D-ring connectors, either one on this side and one on this side, or one only and one only, there's a provision to cut 3 of these D-ring connectors, one for the top and one on either side, which you can do, and that you can create a backpack. I'm only doing one because I'm doing a back strap with a floating D-ring. So we're going to take pattern piece J first, the D-ring connector, and I have 1 exterior, and I'm just going to fold it down the center, and I have double-sided tape on either side to fold into the center. Just like that. Now, the back strap that I'm going to create for the floating D-ring, this is not in the pattern. So I have cut a 2-inch wide piece of exterior, and I went overboard. I really cut it long. I don't really need it that long. I went and cut it 12 inches long, but really I probably only need it about 10 inches long. Yeah, so I'm just going to trim this down a bit. I'll trim about 1.5 inches off of it. I don't need that much. But the same thing as the D-ring connector, I do have a center line. I have double-sided tape on either side. So just remove the backing off the double-sided tape, fold those raw edges into the center line. All right, so I'm just going to top stitch down each side of these pieces. Now with the strap, to ensure that these folds stay in place, I am going to go in from this 1/8 inch stitching 1/4 of an inch on either side and top stitch and stitch down that as well. And that just makes a more secure, the strap staying in place without it opening up at that fold. All right, and just like that. So there we have our 4 rows of stitching. All right, so now we are going to take our D-ring connector. Oh, there it is. I just want to burn these threads. Okay, put your D-ring on and fold it in half, just like that. Then we're going to take our pattern piece G, top strap piece, take one of your exteriors, and you have your center marked, right sides together with the D-ring hanging down. Center this over top of that. You're going to let it overhang. So that there's probably a measurement in the pattern, but I'm going to probably just let it hang down about 1 inch. And I'm going to clip those into place. I'm going to put a little piece of double-sided tape in the center to hold it on there together because this is a little slippy, the material. Okay, and then I'll just fold it in half again and re-clip in the center. I can see it better this side. Ensuring that your D-ring connector is hanging straight up and down. And then we're just going to baste across. All right, just like that. Then take your other piece and right sides together. Line all your raw edges up, all your curves, and clip together. Okay, and then we're going to stitch, make sure that's hanging straight, and then we're going to stitch all around the raw edges at the seam allowance in the pattern. All right, and we take our top connector and turn it right side out. Use your turning tool at the corners, the curves. Poke those curves out really, really well. And I'm going to clip as I go. It's fine, a little thick. Make sure that they're poked out nice and smooth. Clip along these edges because we will be top stitching this edge. Okay, so we will be top stitching all the way around the folded edge and then basting this bottom end closed. Okay, and there it is. I'm going to put a rivet here, so that'll help secure that that excess strap that we have in here. Just kind of center, put a dot. I can see the center. There we go. Okay, and there is our rivet on. All right, so with right side facing up, we're going to baste this across the top edge, which I have already done. All right, so now working with the D-ring connector strap that we have already made, take your D-ring and put it on your D-ring strap. And we're going to measure up. I kind of line it up just above where these curves end here. So that kind of measures up about, where does that go? About 1.5 inches up from the bottom edge. And that's where it's a good spot to line it up. So I'm just going to put double-sided tape on either side of these edges. 1.5 inches up from the bottom. It's probably too much double-sided tape, but we'll work it out. Okay, I'm just going to make a mark just so I can make sure I line it up along that edge, that line. Okay, take the backing off your double-sided tape. I'm really getting bothered with environmental allergies. All right, so my strap is going to be longer than the actual bag, and I'm just going to center that across the back end, the bottom end here, line the bottom edge of that strap that we made up with those lines. That's 1.5 inches up from the bottom, and I'm going to baste that on both sides. I'm going to come in about 1 inch from each edge. Use my pen so I can see along each edge, and I'm going to make a dot and center, and that's where we're going to put our rivet marks. Just to ensure that this stays secure. Okay, so I'm going to punch my holes. Make sure your lining isn't in the way of you punching your holes if you're doing it this way. Okay. And you just need really short rivets. Now I'm using antique brass hardware, but I don't have really short antique brass posts, so I'm just using silver, and you won't see it because it'll be on the underside. And I'll be using antique brass caps. That's one thing I found about rivets. If your post is too long, then you wind up pressing your rivets in crooked. All right, and we'll seat those, get the lining out of the way. And this will give you room to accommodate for your seam allowance too. D-ring connector out of the way. Oops. All right. So there we have our floating D-ring for, and this is just going to be a sling bag. It's not going to be a backpack. If you had followed the pattern and put the D-ring connectors on both sides, then this D-ring hook, this D-ring here, gives you the ability to make 2 adjustable straps. And then the two swivel clasps would hook onto here, and then one would hook onto the D-ring here, and one would hook onto the D-ring here, and that would enable you to have a backpack, and then take one of those straps off if you only want to wear it as a sling. But I'm making this bag as a sling. All right, I'll be back. All right, so now we're going to make the grab handle, which I think is a great feature on this bag. Now I'm going to make mine a little different. I've made the handle longer than what's in the pattern. So I made my handle 10 inches long just to make it a little, if I just want to carry it, and it just gives me a better, if I have, if somebody has bigger hands, like a man as an example, then it gives them more to grab onto. So my measurement for my handle is 4 inches wide by 10 inches long. Fold. Got double-sided tape along both raw edges. Fold those raw edges into the center. All right, so we have the raw edges folded into the center, and fold those folded edges together and clip. You can use webbing for the handle. I chose to use the contrasting to make it look a little more interesting. Okay, and then we're going to top stitch 1/8 of an inch seam allowance down both edges, and then I'm going to come in from that top stitch edge 1/4 of an inch and sew down on either side. Okay, just like that. And now we're going to take our back exterior, decide which way you want it. This is going to be a little stiff, so it has to go this way to go up that way. Okay, I'm going to have it overhanging on either side of our little connector here, about 1 inch. Clip that into place, making sure that this is going to go up the right way. Actually, I've got to move it down. So maybe about 1/2 inch up from the edge, the top edge. I should have put the handle on and then that, so that when that's pulled up, you're holding it like that. Okay, and then we're going to baste these on. I'll probably just go straight across that connector as well. Okay, and that's what we have at this point. I'm not trimming these off yet until I decide where we're going to be going, and I'll be back. All right, so we're going to be working on our zipper gusset at this point in time. You'll need your zipper pull at some point. I'm not putting it on yet. You'll need your long zipper and your pattern piece H, the zipper gusset. You have 2 exterior and 2 lining. So we're just going to put the lining aside for the moment. Or 1 piece. Okay, so we're going to go across the top edge. Make sure all your centers are marked on your zipper as well. And across the top edge of your exterior right side. And take your zipper, and the right side is your teeth. So your right side down, teeth down, line up your center of your zipper with that top edge of your exterior. You will have some overhang of your zipper. I always cut my zipper tape a little longer than what the pattern calls for. Okay, double-sided tape across the top edge of the wrong side of your zipper. And then take one of your lining pieces, right side together with the right side of your exterior, and you have your zipper sandwiched in the middle, and line up your centers and the top raw edges together, and at the same time ensure that your side edges are even too. Okay, and then we're going to stitch across this, flip it, and top stitch. And I just like to ensure that my 2 short ends are lined up, and I just pull them snugly and clip them on both ends, ensuring those raw edges, the raw short edges match and are lined up. And then makes it easier to fold, pull this down, pull your 2 raw edges at the bottom together and clip. Okay, and then we will pull this down from where I've got it clipped. My vinyl is pretty thick, so I'm going to pull that down, and I'll be pulling it as I sew. but this just ensures that your edges and your bottom raw edges are kept together. And then we're going to top stitch across this top folded edge at the zipper. Okay, and then we will do exactly the same thing on the other side. So on your other exterior, double-sided tape across the top raw edge. All right, and then right sides together. And line up your center here along with your center of your zipper and line up those raw edges or those edges at the top, ensuring that your side seams are even as well. And then flip it over so that the wrong side of your zipper is showing and your lining piece is showing. And double-sided tape across the top edge of the zipper as well. And then take your other lining piece and right sides together with this lining. Line up your center and your raw edge across the top edge of that zipper. And then we will stitch across down that, flip it and top stitch, just like we did with the other side. And we'll do exactly the same thing. I'm leaving these clips here anyway on the other side. Okay, and we will pull everything together, line up our raw edges and clip. Okay, and then we will top stitch across this edge of the zipper as well. Just put that down. Oops, my clips came out. Okay. the sun's coming out. Oh, we've been out for a while. I haven't noticed. Oops. All right, so now I'm going to put my zipper pull on. You could use two zipper pulls, one being put on this end and one being put on this end so they meet in the center, but I just use one. The second one always winds up being down at the bottom and it never gets used. I've heard the same from a lot of people. Okay, just pull that into the center. So we have this right now, and I'll burn the ends of my zipper. I'm not trimming them at this point. They'll get sewn into the gusset. Okay, so this is what we have so far, and I'll be back. Okay, we're going to be working on the bottom gusset now. So you're going to, and we're going to be attaching it to our zipper gusset. So you're going to need your pattern piece I. There's two pattern piece I's. I'm using pattern piece I A, where you cut it on the fold or fold your fabric and then cut one long strip because I don't have a directional print. The other pattern piece IB is you cut two of this pattern piece if you have a directional print. So you cut one piece and then turn it this way and cut the other piece so that when they get sewn together in the center, you have your printed fabric going the right way. So you have one exterior and one lining of pattern piece IA. And as I've mentioned before, I'm not interfacing any of my pieces. Now your zipper, depending on what your seam allowances are and how wide your zipper tape is, this could be narrower than your actual gusset piece or vice versa when you line them up. And if one is slightly wider than the other, you can slightly merge and trim that extra edge into the gusset. So what we're going to do is put double-sided tape across the top edge. I've already put my zipper pull on, and I basted all the way around the outer edge after I put my zipper pull on, and I went over top of my zipper teeth and I've melted the ends of my zipper. So I'm going to put double-sided tape across the top edge of the zipper panel. And then right side of the bottom gusset, line up those raw edges, ensuring that your sides edges are straight. It's a little bigger. Okay, so just center that. Okay, and just line that up. And then on the other side, turn it around, lining side up. Sorry. And right sides together. Double-sided tape across this top edge. And your lining, line that up, center that in there too. And then we're going to stitch across this at the seam allowance in the pattern, and then we're going to flip it and top stitch. Okay, and then double-sided tape across the other end of the zipper gusset. Doesn't want to stick. My hyper stick one then. Okay, and then take the the raw edge of the right side and put your right sides together. And then turn it over, lining side up, double-sided tape across this top edges again. And then pull your right side of your lining up with the right side of this lining and line up your short ends, and then stitch across at the seam allowance in the pattern. Okay, and then turn right side out. Now we haven't top stitched this yet, but we want to clip these raw edges together. Of lining and the exterior. Okay, and then turn it inside out. And where I have already top stitched, I'm going to start here and baste all the way around this raw edge, top stitch across, sorry, this folded edge, and then come back down the other side. All right. Now I do have a little bit of overhang on the edges, so I'm just going to take my scissors and trim that off. Just kind of merge it in with the other edge of the gusset on an angle. Okay, kind of like that. All right, I will be back. Alrighty, so we're going to carry on with our one of our interior lining pieces and making the interior slip pocket. But before I forget, just to finish up our exterior zipper and bottom gusset piece that we made, make sure that your centers are marked. So fold your two side seams together and just ensure that your centers are marked at this top end and this top end and the bottom gusset, and just fold it and mark your center there as well as there. And we'll put that aside for the moment. So now you're going to need piece Q, which is your interior slip pocket. You have one lining cut for that. And one of your piece E back panel piece. You already cut one exterior, but you've also cut two linings. So you're going to need one of your lining pieces of piece E, and then cut a strip. I've cut this about 6.5 inches long by 1 inch wide, and that's going to be the little strip that we cover over the top of our slip pocket. So we're just going to put the lining back piece aside for the moment. All right, so take your pattern piece Q, and On the long edges, there is, I've just marked an inch down from each long raw edge. I've marked an inch down on both sides, and I put double-sided tape across those edges. So we're going to fold the raw edges to that line on both edges. Now, just to help close this up, so until we get to the point where we base it, I'm just going to put double-sided tape on half of each folded edge. Find the end, there it is. So just up from the bottom, just somewhere in there, in the middle of it. Doesn't have to be fancy or straight. This is just going to help that when I fold it in half, it'll help these edges stay together. Okay, and fold the two wrong edges up to the two short wrong edges up together. Make sure that your side folded edges are even and one's not sticking out more than the other. I've had that happen. And that double-sided tape just helps to keep it closed. You can clip it, but it just helps. And then do that for the same on the other side. All right, just like that. And then this raw edge at the top, we're just going to base that closed at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And then we're going to take our little decorative strip. I've drawn a center line down, and I've put double-sided tape on both sides. So just peel the back off the double-sided tape, and I folded this in half already just to start a crease. And then line up your raw edge, maybe just at that center line. You will have an amount extending over, and then fold the other side, top edge, over. Okay. Maybe that might be my right side. All right. And then stitch across this top edge at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, and then below that 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, just to ensure that this stays on and it's not going to move on you. And then just trim off this excess amount. And I'll just take my lighter to those edges and the threads. Okay, so that is what we have. There we go. Now on your lining piece, there is a measurement in the pattern of where to, might be a little hard to see. There's a line here. I just have it drawn with my pencil. You can just see it. And you measure up from the bottom to this point, just draw a line across, and then we're going to lay the bottom of that slip pocket along that line centered. So I'm just going to fold this in half to find my center. And I'm just going to put double-sided tape across the bottom edge to help it stay in place. And line up my centers on that line. Okay. And then I'm going to top stitch all the way around the edges and not the top pocket. Not the pocket. All right, and there is our cute little slip pocket, and I'll be back. Okay, so we're going to be working on the other interior lining piece, and it's the interior zipper pocket. So you will need your piece P, the interior zip pocket lining, and you have one lining piece. And you'll require your remaining piece E, the back panel, which is your remaining lining panel. So what I have done is, and you'll need your last piece of zipper, which is probably longer than I need, your zipper pole already installed, and double-sided tape on the top and bottom edge. Make sure you burn your ends. These will be cut down, but I'm just burning them now because they do fray. And put that aside. So on the wrong side of your lining piece, then draw your zipper box. So I just went down on this piece 1 inch and 1 inch from each edge. This will be the facing. This will create the facing. And move that there, I can see better now. All right, so that creates the facing. So I'm going to place this just kind of down from the top edge. I have my centers marked top and bottom. I folded a crease in the center so I can line it up with my centers on the lining, and I've made a crease in there too. And I'm just going to line that up just so that these corners are just below that curve. It's probably not the actual measurement in the pattern, but I'm going with it. And just make sure that you're centered. Sometimes my pockets might get wonky, and I'm just going to use painter's tape just to kind of keep that in place so it doesn't slip. I'm going to reduce my stitch length to a 2. I like using a smaller stitch length when I sew around zipper boxes. All right, so here we are right now. So I'm going to stitch all around that zipper box, and then we're going to cut it. My painter's tape, I think I've used it enough. It's lost its stickiness. All right, so that's what we have so far. And I'm just going to fold that in half, line up the 2 ends on this side. Take some sharp scissors and snip a little hole in that, along that center line. And then just snip this open at the point, and then snip into my corners without snipping the stitches, which I have done. I like using the lining piece as the facing instead of doing a separate facing. I know we did a separate facing piece when we did the welt pocket on the back exterior, but I do like doing zipper pockets like this, where you use the lining as your facing so that you don't have an extra piece to cut. All right, now I'm just going to take some double-sided tape and I'm just going to go up and around so that when I turn this piece to the other side, I'll have it, this will be able to stick to the other side. We will be removing some of this afterwards, or most of this afterwards, because it will be in the way of the stitch line, but this helps us at the moment. All right, I'll just fold this up to kind of get some kind of a crease. That's not going to fold. All right, stuff your lining to the other side. And just work one side of at a time and fold your seams in your zipper box. Fold them down. The double-sided tape helps to keep it down. And then if you have to readjust, then that's the beauty of the double-sided tape, is you can readjust it if you need to, if you see puckers or anything like that. Oops, took it right off. All right, so that's what we have at this point. Then take your zipper. Mine will be quite a bit longer. That's okay. Take the double-sided tape off the back, off the zipper, both edges. This is where you can decide if you want your zipper to pull to the left or pull to the right. On my exterior, I have all my zippers going to be pulling closed to the right. And I might as well just continue that with this one. So I have my zipper pulling to the right, closing. I just put that on my table, and then I'm going to center. If I can get there, everything sticks to the double-sided tape, and I'm just going to center this zipper box over top of the zipper. Like I said, I know my zipper is longer than it's supposed to be. But just try to make sure that you've got the same amount on both, same amount of zipper on both ends, if you can. There we go. And now I'm just going to stitch all the way around this zipper box. And I will pull my threads to the back, only because of the fact that I'm using black thread. Okay. And then flip it over to the wrong side and pull your thread. I need my light here. See what I'm doing. Black on black. There we go. I'm just going to raise my blind here to get a bit more light. All right, and then tie off your threads. All right, so we're going to run double-sided tape up across the top. Well, we don't have to, we can clip it. Okay, pull away now your zipper and pull off all the double-sided tape that could be exposed that on this side. When you pull your sides off, you don't need this double-sided tape anymore. We'll just get it in the way of your stitch line. And it could get stuck in your needle or stick to your needle plate. And then we are going to fold up this bottom edge up to the top edge and clip. Clip all down the sides as well, ensuring that your sides are even, which they should be, hopefully. Okay, just like this, and then we're going to turn it to the right side up and starting at the top edge. Now we don't need all of this space at the top edge. You want all of your space in the body of the zipper pocket. So what I do is I start at the top edge, fold this lining back, and I start kind of right here alongside the fold. And then I encompass sewing over top of that little point just to keep it in place. And that will also stitch the your zipper teeth in as well. If you're able to, you can back stitch here. And then after that point, then you can start your seam allowance kind of graduating and then going down. So you have a wider bottom of your pocket than at the top. And then do that down both sides and then sew across the top. When I sew across the top, I fold this back and then I sew this edge in, which is part of the zipper box that we pulled to the back. And that just helps catch it in. So I may even sew the top first. I don't know. We'll see. Anyhow, yeah, I'll sew the sides and just sew those, stitch those closed, and then we'll have our zipper box done, or our zipper pocket. And then we'll trim it off, trim the seam allowances down. And if my machine will let me, I'll go over those zipper teeth. All right, so not pretty, but that's okay. No one's going to see it. So now we're just going to trim this off. So this is what you can see where I have caught the little these little corners so that they get stitched in, and I've gone over my zipper teeth. And then when I did across the top edge, I caught this this edge of the zipper box facing, caught that in my stitching. And then I'll just trim the seam allowance down. When you trim off the top, because you have I can see my zipper here, so I'm going to make sure that I don't cut that part of the zipper. I'll just cut the top edge off, just above it. Had, carpal tunnel surgery done on both wrists in the past. All right, I'm just going to take my lighter and I'm just going to burn those zipper ends I've cut. Really burn them good because they're tucked inside that material. Okay, and there is our zipper pocket. Very cute. Okay, I'll be back. Alrighty, so in this pattern, there is the option to birth the bag or to bind it. I'm going to be doing the binding method, and which is pretty, I like doing the binding. So what I need to do on my back panel, I'm going to trim off all of these extra little edges that I don't need and will get in the way of my binding. Okay, so on the back panel, this is where I want my zipper pocket to be on my back panel. So all we're going to be doing is matching centers, wrong sides together. Match your centers and clip and clip and clip. And all is a pretty simple step. So just match these guys. There it is. And I will do the same for the other piece. So my front is going to have the slip pocket on the front. So I'll put those wrong side together and I'll clip everything together. And then all I'm going to do is baste these pieces together at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And I'll see you back when that's done. All right, so I have everything all basted on, the linings to the panels. Now on the front panel, after I basted it, there is a section in the pattern where you lay this pattern piece over and you trim your seams, but I just left them this way and sewed around, and then you have a little bit of excess here as well, and just trim that all off, as that will get in the way of your binding. Okay. All right, then we will start putting this bag together. So I'm going to work with the front section first and get your gusset. So turn your gusset, first of all, determine, so I want my zipper to pull and close to the right along the, so I want to see what it's doing on the front. First of all, before I forget, I like to, when I'm putting gussets on like this, I like to use double-sided tape. Some people staple this on, or I put double-sided tape all the way around my front and back panel, and that helps to stick it into place as you're clipping it. We'll definitely be needing clips, and I'll show you how I do the front panel, and then I'll do the back panel off camera because it's just the same. So I want my zipper, with showing from the right side, I want it closing to the right. So that means this edge that's closest to me is going to be what lines up with that top edge of the front panel. So I'll take my backing off. You can get it off. Okay. So my zipper is closing to the right. This is the center mark that I want to line up with this center mark, and we're going to be putting right sides together. So I'm going to put a clip on this edge because that's what I'll be attaching to this side. I'm going to turn it wrong side out. And where the clip is, now I can line that center mark up on my front panel and start clipping all the way around, matching your centers on your bottom, matching all of your raw edges. And I just clip to the curves because we're not ever sure if we will have to clip into the gusset so that it can be eased around those curves. Okay, so I have that all clipped, and I'm just going to baste this all on just to get rid of all these clips. Just baste it all together at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. All right, so I have basted that all on, and I'm just going to trim up some of these slightly longer edges. Always around the curves. Okay, now I'm going to go off camera and I'm going to baste the back panel on, and then I'll come back to do the binding because I have a thread change to do for the binding, and I want the back panel sewn on with my black thread. All right, I'll be back. All right, so now we have both the front and back panel basted on to our zipper and bottom gusset. Now we're going to bind each edge. Now you can open the zipper. You could have had the zipper open as you were stitching around the basting as well, but it's a good idea to open it. It gives you a little bit more flexibility to move. I'm just going to adjust my stitch length to about a 3.5, and I don't do any measurement as far as binding is concerned. All I do is just take it, and what I use for binding, I use a 1-inch grosgrain ribbon. So I wanted to switch out to my purple thread, which is the plum color of the Tex 45 weight Fusion nylon bonded thread from Emmeline Bags. Because I'm going to be using this purple grosgrain ribbon is what I use for my binding. I use a 1-inch wide grosgrain ribbon, and I just fold it over evenly around here, and then I stitch it on. So all I do to get my measurement on one side is I kind of just loosely follow it around the outer edge. Nothing tight, and I always make sure I guesstimate a little bit extra just in case. And then just cut that off. And then I'll do the same for the other side. So we're going to work on the back, and then I'll do the front off camera. So just burn your ends if you're using grosgrain ribbon. I just find the grosgrain is easier because it has a finished edge on either side. There isn't a right or a wrong side, so you don't even have to worry about that. All right, so kind of maybe at the top, I'll start it because nobody looks at the top and you don't want to see any seams folded under and sewn in the bottom. So I'm just going to fold over the one edge and then just start clipping all the way around the bag. Get lots of clips. I have to do it down here. It's easier for me. And I'm just going to start at the top, fold it over in half, and clip. And do that all the way around. You know, pull it snug. Lots of clips. Fold that under. First of all, get it clipped. Okay, so it's all clipped, and I'm going to start up here, and I'm going to sew on this edge. You can sew from underneath this way if that works better for you, but I'm just going to sew here, and I'm going to come in 1/8 of an inch from this edge, and I'm going to sew 1/8 of an inch on that edge. Start at the side here, where it's a little flatter. You might need a stylus, or I use my thread snips to help hold down the fabric and the binding if I need to. Let's get in there. With all the clips in the way. All right, so there is our binding all the way around, and then there's the underside, and it's all caught all the way around. So I'll go off camera and I'll cut my binding for this side, clip it on, and then sew it, and then we'll be back to turn this bag for the reveal. It's done. So there it is, bound on both sides. I do like a bound bag, and I do have to admit, when I first started my channel, binding was not one of my favorite things to do. I struggled with it, and maybe a lot of you guys struggle with it too, but you know what? If you keep it up, it does work. And I do find that using the grosgrain ribbon does really, really help. If you do want matchy, you could, you know, cut your strip 1.5 inches wide, sew it around there, then fold it, and then have finished seams on both sides. I like using the grosgrain ribbon. Sometimes you can't get an exact match, but that's okay. Let's turn this bag This is exciting. All right. And I have made a number of Yoshis, and they have all sold. Like, this is a nice bag to make for craft markets as well. I love carrying the Yoshi because of the fact that I do like the slip pocket at the back. Oh, I've got some double-sided tape peeking out here. That's okay, it peels off. All these little things you find after the fact. Okay, let's keep turning this. Push all of my seams out. Now, a little trick is if you struggle with seams kind of looking not as flat as you would like them, but they kind of look like this, you know, after you've turned your bag, one of the things you can do is run towels or tea towels, depending on the size of your bag, run them in a hot dryer for 20 minutes to half an hour. And as you pull them out of the dryer, stuff your bag tight with them, especially along the edges and the seams, and that will help. The heat will stay in your bag much longer. Keep them in for about 24 hours, and the heat will eventually, you know, cool down inside, but that will help work your seams so that they sit better. I found just sticking cold towels or tea towels in my bags overnight didn't do the trick, but running them in a hot dryer, the heat is already there in your towels or tea towels, and it will stay longer and do a better job at helping to pull those seams the way that you want them to. Just trying to get a piece of double-sided tape out of this seam. Okay, I better get my tweezers. Just grab it and pull it. There we go. Okay, but that helps. That helps work your seams better. But like I said, this lining, the binding works as a skeleton in your bag. Roll them, that helps too. You know, so a lot of times initially my bags look like this all the time, but if you work them and if you do that hot towel trick, that helps. Just takes a bit of time sometimes. This is really cute. I'll have to work the seams a little better, but that'll do for now. All right, how cute is this? All right, let's do it up. All my zippers matched. They all are going to the closing to the right. That works. All right, let's put the strap on. So I did the strap first. And all I did was use a 1.5 inch webbing, black webbing. And then I took a 1.5 inch strip of this nice contrast and folded it into the center, put double-sided tape along the wrong side, and put it down the center of the webbing and just top stitched it on either side. And then I just have a strap adjuster, antique brass, and a 1.5 inch swivel clasp on each side. So we clip the swivel clasp onto our D-ring. Your D-ring, you're going to want your handle in front of the D-ring. So I don't know if it goes that way. It can go that way. Either way, it works. And then just clip this onto your D-ring on the bottom, your floating D-ring, so that if I have it on this side, the swivel clips, the D-ring goes up here, but if I put it on this side, then it slides to this side. So it's self-adjusting. This is a cute bag. I just love the Yoshi, and it's such a fun make. This is a really, really great pattern. So let's quickly go over it now that it's done. All right, so we have our zipper pocket at the front. It's not big enough for a phone, but it's big enough to put your lip balm and lip gloss and whatever, keys and stuff like that. There's your hidden zipper pocket, still not big enough for your phone. But what I will do with this one is, because the car that we have, you don't use a key. It's a push start, and you just need the fob close to the car in order for the car to work. And then when you walk away, the car locks. So I can just leave my fob in my purse and not have to worry about it. And I would keep it in this hidden pocket because it wouldn't be a pocket that I would access as much. And then on the back, you have your welt pocket, and this is where I will put my phone. And even though it peeks up a little bit, that's okay, because it will be up against my body. So my phone fits there perfectly. And then inside, I just have the one zipper. On the back wall, I have this zipper pocket, which is a good size as well, you know, and it's easy access. And then you have a slip pocket on this side, plus tons of room inside. Like, this is a fair size bag, and you can put a lot in it. And especially if you use a waterproof lining inside, it's great to carry. Even, you know, you have baby bottles or stuff like that too. But anyhow, this is a perfect bag. It's a little big for what I would want to wear on my front end. I've got enough going on, but a lot of times I just take it and flick it. Oops. I just take it and hang it off like a shoulder bag. But if I wanted to wear it on my back, I think I would put it on my left shoulder and see if that goes upside right. Nope, that's upside down. Got a mirror behind me. So if I put it on this way, then you can see, I think you can see that it's on my back like that as a sling bag. So this is a great bag. It's a perfect size. And I love the grab handle. And if I was making this for a man, definitely I would keep this longer length of a grab handle than what the measurement is in the pattern. So thanks a lot for hanging out with me as we make the Yoshi Sling Bag by Kaur Threads. And this is a fun make, and it's a beautiful bag to make as well. And there's a lot of opportunities for color combinations and stuff like that. But so again, thanks for being here. If you're new here, welcome aboard. And please like, comment, subscribe, and share. The thumbs up. The comments really help a lot. I'm very fast with getting back with comments. And check out my 360 Handmade Bags YouTube playlist and just say play all if you want to binge watch my videos. And we will see you on the next tutorial. So thanks for hanging out with me.